Every hospital holds its secrets, long corridors with flickering lights. Rooms nurses avoid after dark, and whispers that shouldn't exist. These places are more than sterile walls and machines. They're filled with final breaths and things that linger after. His name was Mr. Holloway, an elderly patient who had been in our care for weeks. He had no visitors, no phone calls. If he had family, they had long stopped checking in. I sat by his bedside, the dim fluorescent light casting a pale blue over the room. His hands lay stiffly on the sheets, and his face was waxy, blank and pale. His eyes were open, but staring not at me, but at the corner of the ceiling. It was the kind of dead-eyed stare that doesn't blink. It doesn't see, it just watches. My Bible rested on my lap, open to a passage on peace and death. His breathing was shallow. His eyes stayed shut. He gave no sign he could hear me, but still I had the unshakable feeling that he was listening. His jaw dropped open, and though his lungs hadn't moved, I heard it. I should have left. I should have called the nurse. But I stood there, frozen by something deeper than fear. It was like gravity had shifted, and I was anchored to that terrible moment. I turned and fled, stumbling into the hallway, my breath shallow and wild. Even under the bright corridor lights, I could feel his eyes still on me. The cold from that room clung to my clothes. Deeply. No one could explain it. The doctors said rigor mortis must have set in unusually. The nurses whispered about how his body shouldn't have stiffened like that. Not so soon. But no one, not a single soul, talked about the fact that I had seen him move after death, that I had heard him speak. As a hospital chaplain, I've walked those halls for years, offering comfort to the dying. Nurses avoid it. Some won't even do rounds near it at night. Every so often, when the hospital is at its quietest, someone sees it again, him, sitting upright, eyes fixed on something none of us can see, watching, waiting. But one night, something offered me a memory. I'll never forget something from beyond. It was late past visiting hours when I was called to room 407 to comfort a man nearing death. That night, after reading a final prayer, I felt a strange calm. Holloway, no response. His chest didn't rise, no breath, no movement. Stillness so thick you could hear your own heartbeat. I gathered my things and left, but something pulled me to glance back one last time. The door to his room was slightly ajar. I peered through the gap and froze. Mr. Holloway was sitting upright. His back was unnaturally straight, his frail frame rigid like someone had propped him up. A cold wave washed over me. I stepped inside, whispering, "Mister." I moved to check the monitor. No pulse, no oxygen level. He'd been gone for nearly an hour. Then it happened. His head snapped toward me. Not slowly, not like a person waking up. It was a violent jerk, like a puppet being yanked by invisible strings. A whisper. "You see me?" That was all it took. The next morning, the nurses found Mr. Holloway exactly as I had, sitting upright, eyes locked on the ceiling. Since then, room 407 has become a room to speak of. Hospitals at night have a strange rhythm. The fluorescent lights hum softly overhead. Monitors beep in slow, steady intervals. Footsteps echo faintly as nurses make their rounds. I was used to the rhythm of grief, of endings. But that night, something changed. Something that still won't let me sleep. But if you've ever been in a hospital when the halls are nearly empty, when even the machines seem to hold their breath, you might understand how silence can become unnerving, especially when that silence is broken by something that shouldn't exist. A man in a hospital gown, his back was to me. His hands were folded neatly in front of him. He wasn't moving at all. I was working the overnight shift as a hospital chaplain, walking the halls, checking in with families, offering quiet prayers. They wander, they look for familiar faces. I assumed he had stepped out of his room and forgotten where he was. I approached slowly, began around 2:30 a.m. I had just finished praying over an elderly man in his final moments. I was heading toward the east wing when I saw him. He stood completely still in the hallway, just outside a patient's door. The air around him seemed dense, like walking into water. My heart began to race. Now, it's not unusual for patients to get disoriented, especially at night, as if he'd never been there at all. "Sir, do you need help?" He didn't turn. He didn't flinch. just stood there like a statue carved from breath and bone. Not yet. I just stood there beside the bed, whispering a final blessing. But I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. I stepped closer. Still no reaction. His presence felt wrong, too still, too quiet. And then he vanished. But he's gone, I whispered. Not gradually. Not in a blink. One moment he was there, and the next gone. No footsteps. No sound. Just emptiness. I left the room, walked back through the hallway where the man had stood, and felt a chill pass straight through me. Inside, a nurse was adjusting the sheets over the same man I had just prayed for. He had passed moments before. I froze, my skin prickled. Looked into the room he'd been standing outside of. I entered, trying to shake off the unease. I said nothing about the man in the hallway. I was waiting for someone to speak his name. Then quietly I asked the nurse, "Was there someone outside the room a moment ago? A man in a hospital gown?" Her hands paused mid-motion. She turned to me slowly, her face pale. "What did he look like?" I described him. Gown, still posture. The sense that he was waiting. I didn't mention the part where he disappeared. The nurse's face changed. She swallowed hard. "That sounds like the man who just passed." My chest tightened. "You mean Mr. Keller?" She nodded. "We admitted him last week. He had no family, no visitors. Always kept to himself." I looked back toward the hallway, now quiet, bathed in pale blue light. "He is now," the nurse said. And just like that, the room grew cold. Heavy. I didn't speak another word. I never saw him again, not with my eyes. But sometimes, when I walk past that door, I get the feeling someone's still there, standing silently in the hallway, watching. Some people say hospitals are peaceful at night. I disagree. After what I saw in the East Wing, I've never felt safe walking those halls again. I've been a hospital chaplain for over a decade. I've comforted the dying, prayed with grieving families, and witnessed moments that felt beyond this world. But nothing prepared me for her. I had just left the ICU after sitting with a patient who passed peacefully in his sleep. I remember the soft beeping of monitors, the shuffle of nurses' feet, and the hum of the overhead lights as I walked toward the East Wing. It was a quiet shift. Late. Most of the hospital had settled into its slow nighttime rhythm. No patients, no staff, no reason for anyone to be there. But as I passed by, I saw her, hands folded neatly in her lap, head bowed. She wore an old-style hospital gown, one we hadn't used in years, and her hair was long, dark, tangled. That part of the hospital had been closed off for renovation. She was sitting perfectly still in one of the visitor chairs at the far end of the hallway. At first I thought maybe she had wandered off. Sometimes dementia patients slip past their rooms. Maybe she was confused, but there was something off. She wasn't moving, not even a little. No subtle shift of breath, no sniffle, nothing, just stillness. I cleared my throat softly and stepped toward her. "Ma'am, do you need help?" No response. I took another step. "Are you okay?" I knew something wasn't right. But instead, I reached out. Just to touch her shoulder. Still nothing. Then I noticed something else. The temperature. The hallway warmed just seconds before, dropped suddenly, not just cool. Freezing, my breath fogged in the air. That's when the unease turned into fear. I should have left. Not like someone walking away, not a trick of the light. She dissolved, like smoke curling into the cold air. She lifted her head. I stopped breathing. I turned and nearly ran to the nearest nurse's station. Her lips stretched unnaturally wide, revealing sharp, too perfect teeth. Why? Her eyes were black, not dark, not shadowed. Black. Pitch black voids where her eyes should have been. I couldn't look away. Then she smiled. It was slow, deliberate. Before I could react, before I could even step back, her body began to fade. Gone. I stumbled back. Heart pounding so loudly I thought I might pass out. Sat alone for days before they found her body in the visitor's chair. Is anyone supposed to be down in the East Wing?" I asked, breathless. The nurse looked up from her chart, confused. No, it's been sealed off all week. I hesitated. I thought. I saw someone. Her expression shifted. What did you see? I described the woman, the gown, the hair, the black eyes. She paled. We don't talk about her anymore, she whispered. But you're not the first. I stared at her. What do you mean? The nurse leaned in. A patient died there. A long time ago. Mental health ward. She was forgotten by everyone. The same chair. The nurse continued, voice barely audible. Some of us have seen her. Always at night. Always sitting. Hands folded. Waiting. At night, I didn't sleep. I haven't walked that hallway since. But sometimes, when the hospital grows too quiet, I feel that same cold settle in. And I swear, out of the corner of my eye, I still see her waiting. Hospice care is where people go to die, but sometimes, not everything that visits is from this world. Her name was Lillian. E. She had been in hospice for several weeks, her body weakening more each day. I met her late one evening as she lay in bed, her breaths shallow, her voice rasping, but her eyes were clear. There was something haunting behind them, something that made me pause. That night, as I read scripture aloud, she reached out and grabbed my hand. "He's coming again," she whispered. Morphine, dreams, the mind slipping between this world and the next. But the way she said it chilled me. I leaned closer. "Who's coming, Lillian?" "The man with the black eyes," she said. At first I assumed it was delirium. "He stands in the corner every night," she continued. "He whispers, but I don't understand his words. It's not English. It's anything I've ever heard." I offered comfort, a quiet prayer, but she wouldn't let go of my hand. "He's waiting," she said. For me, over the next few days, Lillian grew weaker. Each night, the nurses told me she would mention the man, always standing, always silent, whispering in that same inhuman voice. One night, just before she passed, she looked directly at me. "You see him too, don't you?" she asked, her voice thin as breath. I didn't answer because in that moment, I felt it. The air around me thickened, the lights flickered, and from the corner of the room, I saw it, shadow, tall, still watching. When I blinked, it was gone, and those eyes, like bottomless pits. That night, Lillian died, peacefully, the nurses said. But what came next still keeps me awake. No staff reported being in the area at the time.
Ouch.
But the nurse's story matched Lillian's exactly. I was speaking with one of the hospice nurses later that night, a quiet woman who had tended to Lillian since her admission. She looked shaken. "I saw something," she said, barely above a whisper. "Right after she passed, I catch something in the corner of my eye." "What did you see?" I asked, expecting a metaphor or a vague feeling. "A shadow," she said. It left the room, moved down the hall. It wasn't walking. It was gliding, like smoke. She stared at me, her hands trembling. "Black eyes," she added. I couldn't see a face, just a darkness. We stood in silence for a long time. Neither of us could explain what we saw. Later, I reviewed the hospice logs. No one had entered her room. The man with the black eyes, I still wonder what he was. A spirit, a guardian of death, or something darker. But deep down, I think Lillian knew. She wasn't afraid. She accepted him, welcomed him, even... I try not to think about it too much. But sometimes, when I sit with a patient near the end, a shadow, waiting. I've worked in hospitals long enough to know that strange things happen in the final hours of life. But nothing prepared me for what happened in room 36. The lights were dimmed, and the usual rhythm of beeping monitors and soft footsteps filled the halls. I had just finished praying with a grieving family when the nurse's call came through. His body had begun to fail, but his mind remained sharp, alert. When I arrived, he was sitting up in bed, his thin hands folded over a worn blanket, his eyes watching the doorway as though expecting someone else. It was a quiet evening in the hospice wing. "Chaplain, Mr. Howard is asking for you." "Room 36? Mr. Howard was a quiet man in his late 80s. "Father, he said with a tired smile. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. It's my honor, I replied, pulling a chair beside him. How are you feeling? Paused, his gaze drifting to the window. Not afraid anymore, he said softly. Not since last night. I leaned in, curious. What happened last night? A nurse came in, he said, his voice low, reverent. She held my hand. She talked to me. She made me feel safe, said everything was going to be all right. I smiled, expecting it was one of the regular night staff. Do you remember her name? B.U.T. She died? Car accident 7 years ago, like from the 60s? And her voice gentle, calm, like my mother's. He frowned. No, but she was wearing white, not like the uniforms they wear now. It was older. A year after she passed, walking the halls, I thought I was imagining it, without fear. That's when the nurse, standing at the foot of the bed, stiffened. The new patient, a middle-aged woman with terminal cancer, didn't know anything about Mr. Howard. She stepped forward slowly, her face pale. That sounds like Helen. Who's Helen? I asked, turning to her. She hesitated, swallowing hard. She used to work here, decades ago. One of the best nurses we ever had. The room fell silent. Mr. Howard looked at us both, unbothered. It was her. I know it. I looked at the nurse. Her eyes were wide, fixed on nothing. I saw her once too, she whispered. I stood, slowly, heart pounding. I'd heard stories rumors whispered during long night shifts, but I had never taken them seriously, till now. Mr. Howard died 2 days later, peacefully, a week after his passing. It added room 36. It had already been cleaned and reassigned. As I entered the room, she turned to me and smiled. She was just here, she said. Who? I asked gently. The nurse in white. She told me not to be afraid. I froze. That was the moment I knew. Helen was still here, not haunting, it's helping.